Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Live Ones college football preview. As I've been mentioning the past couple of videos, we did this last summer, and it was one of my favorite things I looked forward to with every installment of the series. Got me all kinds of hyped up for the season, and most importantly, focused my capping and got me ready for those first couple of weeks. A lot of college football cappers, they'll tell you straight up, I don't start playing until week 4 when conference play starts. With there being so much turnover from year to year in all college sports, you just never know how things are likely to shake out when teams play each other until you see their relative strength in those cupcake games in the first couple of weeks. It's just too intensive, too much work to go through 120 Division I teams, look into which bench players are getting promoted, assess all the new names you've never heard of before, to which I say, it's only work if you don't enjoy it. We're going to start the same way we did last year with the always crazy, balls to the wall, Tuesday and Wednesday night delight that is. Since 2015, 11 of the teams in the MAC have played for the conference title, and no program has gone back-to-back as champions since 2011. This is a conference where you can take what happened last year and you just throw it out. Anyone can realistically match up against anyone in any particular game. You're probably going to see over 1,000 yards of offense and 80 points in every game, and Toledo will go 6-6 and play in the Bahamas Bowl. It is law. It's the conference where worst to first is the norm, with 2020 winless Northern Illinois winning the MAC championship last year. Will they be the first team to repeat as champions in over a decade? Let's find out. We're going to start with the Akron Zips. As we predicted last year, they were improved in 2021, but only because they had literally nowhere to go but up. They went 2-10, upending FCS School Bryant and Bowling Green, and getting massacred by just about everyone else. They've got a new head coach in Joe Moorhead, who was a great get for them. He was the former head coach of Mississippi State and most recently the offensive coordinator at Oregon. He's got pretty much a blank slate to work with on offense. The line is very young. They have a new quarterback in DJ Irons, who's a big boy at 6'6". He appeared in 8 games for the Zips last year, including 3 starts. Passed for 892 yards on the campaign, completing 78 of 120 attempts, while ranking as the Zips' second leading rusher, gaining 309 yards and 2 touchdowns. Actually looked halfway decent in his debut game against Auburn last year. I remember watching that, and he went a perfect 13 for 13 for 129 yards and 1 touchdown. The big get for them through the transfer portal is Minnesota's Cam Wiley at running back. He was the second leading rusher for Minnesota in 2020. Should take some of the pressure off of Irons. The problem for this team, as it always seems to be, is the offensive line. They finished last in the nation in sacks allowed in 2021, and they're only returning 2 starters. On defense, the strength is the secondary. Senior Charles Amawaka led the team with 3 picks. Jalen Kelly Powell is a good hitter with 73 tackles last season. And there's enough versatility to play around with the options. Overall, you can't work miracles your first year, and everyone knows it. This team has a Week 1 game against St. Francis that they should win. But after that, they play their tackle dummy games against Michigan State, Tennessee, and Liberty. That should just take the life out of their program. Maybe they win one of their MAC games. Bowling Green's on their schedule, as always. But I think 2 wins is probably this team's ceiling. The Ball State Cardinals. After 6 straight losing seasons, the program pulled off a surprising MAC championship in 2020, and then won it even more with several of the key parts returning in 2021. It was a fine year. But after a bowl loss to Georgia State, it turned into a 7th losing season in 8 years. Now there's a bit of an overhaul, especially on defense, because they're losing 7 out of their top 8 tacklers. Not good at all. The team's going to have to lean heavily on senior defensive end Tavion Woodward. Woodward came up with a team-high 5 sacks with 8.5 tackles for loss, and now he's the veteran leader of the front 3. Expect him to get double-teamed a lot, though, as the Cardinals run a 3-4 defensive set most of the time, and he's the only player of note on it. Brandon Martin should anchor up the linebacker core. He has 237 tackles with 2 sacks and 10.5 tackles for loss in his 36 games. But the problem is he's always hurt. He can be a playmaker when he's there, but he's just not there very much. Senior cornerback Amichi Uzodinma is the only returning starter of the back 9. He has 125 career tackles, 7 interceptions, 25 broken up passes in 4 years. With Drew Plitt gone, at quarterback, John Paddock is going to be taking over. The good thing is he's been in this system his whole career, just riding the bench waiting for his turn. And so he's not going to need to be brought up to speed very much. The ground game is up to leading rusher Carson Steeler in a rotation with Will Jones. The two of them combined for close to 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. Overall, this team, it just has a lot of holes and a lot of question marks, especially for a team playing in the loaded MAC West. Murray State and UConn are the only two almost certain wins. Ohio's going to be improved, but that has to be a home win, and so does the date with Eastern Michigan. It's going to take a few upsets to get to 6 wins, but if the offense is more explosive and the defense can generate more pressure to get off the field a bit easier on key downs, it'll be a third straight bowl season. Let's talk about Bowling Green. Absolutely improved over the 3 years of doldrums that preceded it, but they still only went 4-8 last year. Head coach Scott Loeffler has managed just 7 wins in his tenure. His offensive style hasn't been a differentiating factor, and his defense hasn't been able to pick up the slack. The good news, if there is any, is that this team is returning almost all of its key talent this year. Boston College transfer quarterback Matt McDonald has all of his top targets back. He's got Austin Osborne, who caught 64 passes as the short-range guy, and he's got Tyrone Broden, who was the deep threat, who averaged 17 yards a catch with 5 touchdowns last year. The defense is headed up by senior linebacker Darren Anders. The first-team All-MAC performer took his game up a few notches last year. He led the way with 124 tackles, 3 sacks, 9.5 tackles for loss, and he came up with an interception on top of it. If the secondary can get some help from him and the 295-pound defensive end Carl Brooks on the pass rush, they should be able to slow down at least some of these insane MAC offenses. Basically, everyone has to be better. That's the long and short of it. Everyone has to be better if they want to get this team bowl eligible again. And of course, anything can happen in the MAC. And let's not forget, this is a team that was able to beat Minnesota on the road last year in a shocker. But the schedule, it's just such a meat grinder for them. They open the season on the road against UCLA. That'll be a loss. Eastern Kentucky should be a win. Marshall, a loss. Mississippi State, a loss. They can beat Akron, Buffalo, and Miami U, but then that's it. 5 brutal games to end the season on the road against Central Michigan, home against Western Michigan and Kent State, then on the road at Toledo and Ohio. If they can steal that game against Toledo and then pull off another shocker somewhere else, they can go 6-6, but that's a big if. I think repeating it 4-8 is probably a whole lot more likely. The Buffalo Bulls, disappointing season for them last year at 4-8 to be sure. This was a team that was settling in as one of the classes of the MAC, and then head coach Lance Leopold left for Kansas. Maurice Linguist took over, and this team just fell apart at the seams. And 7 offensive starters are now gone, including the quarterback. What is this team going to do? Well, they're going to hunker down on defense because it's all they can do. James Patterson might just be the best defensive player all around in the conference. The linebacker is going to take over everything in the 4-2-5 alignment, but the options and rotation, they just have to fill in next to him. They've got to get the talent around him. Sean Dolak made some plays in his first year, but the defense just needs more parts to fight against the run. The defensive front might be the team's biggest strength. It's a small bar to get over. But the line is one of the few areas on the team that's got plenty of depth, and they can rotate guys in and out. The run defense has got to be better, but Damon Williams is a good nose tackle that you can build around. He's almost 300 pounds, and once again should be among the MAC's best interior pass rushers. On the offensive side of the ball, senior Matt Myers adds more of a rushing element to the mix, and he has the starting experience, but if the offense just needs more big things happening down the field. Myers needs to keep things moving. If Buffalo is going to bounce back and have a winning season, they need to play a different style of football than almost every other team in the MAC and execute it to perfection. Let's take a look at the schedule. Holy Cross, UMass, and Akron should all be sure wins to open the season. Maryland, Coastal Carolina, and Kent State should be sure losses. Gives you 3 wins and 3 losses baked into the season. The rest of these games, honestly, and you're going to be hearing this a lot with a lot of these teams that I'm previewing, are 50-50 toss-up games. That's just the nature of the MAC. A 6-6 record would certainly be a bounce-back year. I think they could sneak a 7th win in there somewhere, but 7 wins, that is Buffalo's ceiling. The Central Michigan Chippewas. Boy, Jim McElwain has been a godsend for this organization. What a great pickup after he got bounced from the Florida job. I still contend very unceremoniously. In his 3 years at Central Michigan, he and the program won a share of 2 division titles. They went to 2 bowls, and they have a solid 20-13 overall record and a 15-7 conference record. All that's missing is that elusive MAC title. The problem this year is that a lot of the key pieces that made last year's 9-4 campaign possible are now in the NFL. Luke Godke was a second-round pick for the Tampa Bay Bucks, and Bernard Ryman went on in the 3rd round to the Colts. Leading receiver Khalil Pimpleton is a Detroit Lion. Those are 3 pieces that are going to be really, really hard to replace. But there is still a lot to like about this team on offense. Veteran quarterback Daniel Richardson just really came into his own as a passer last season. He threw for almost 2,600 yards and 24 touchdowns with just 6 picks. The backfield gets back their leading rusher, Lou Nichols. He was just wow. I mean, he ran for almost 1,900 yards. They ran the crap out of him. 16 touchdowns rushing last year. And they get back Kobe Lewis from a knee injury that cost him the season last year. The defense was number 1 in the nation at coming up with tackles for loss and was 4th in sacks. But, as happens so often with the MAC, they got on the radar of the rest of the country, and the transfer portal definitely killed them. Star safety Devontae Reed, linebackers Troy Brown and George Douglas are gone, along with the leading tackler Greg Kresge and the top pass rushers Troy Hairston and Amir Sadiq. All of them gone. This team is definitely poised to take a step backwards, unfortunately. You just can't lose that much talent and not. But they still should finish bowl eligible, I think. Assume a base of at least 4 wins with South Alabama, Bucknell, Bowling Green, and Buffalo all at home. Throw in winnable games at Akron and Eastern Michigan, and anything less than 6-6 would be a major disappointment. I think they can probably go 7-5 or 8-4, maybe, if things go their way. Going down I-96 to Eastern Michigan, 7-6 last year, and yes, they lost the Lending Tree Bowl to Liberty, but really, who in their right mind thought they had a chance against Liberty? Liberty has become an absolute beast of a program. The Eagles, this was a team that beat who they should and lost to who they should last year. But this year might be the best team the Eagles have fielded in a long time. The only question for this team is at quarterback. Ben Bryant went to Cincinnati. Preston Hutchinson left for Chattanooga, and Austin Smith is the lone holdover, who's competing with Missouri transfer Taylor Powell. The receiving corps has the parts no matter who the man is under center. Hassan Beydoun led the team with 97 catches for over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Dylan Grumman helped out with 64 receptions. Outside of tight end, just about everybody of note is back. The offensive line returns 4 of its starters. On defense, the belle of the ball is definitely junior linebacker Tariq Spites, who boasts 155 tackles in his 3 seasons of work to date. If he can continue to get some help from the pass rushing duo of Jose Ramirez and Turan Rush up front, who combined for 11 sacks last season, this should be a pass rush that can challenge most offensive lines in the MAC. The schedule works out very well for them. All of their tough MAC opponents are at home: Northern Illinois, Central Michigan, Toledo, and Kent State. They get them all at home. I think this team has a floor of 6 wins and might be able to sneak in 2 more via those 50-50 games at home. 7-5 or 8-4, that's where I think they'll finish. This is definitely going to be an improved team over last year. Halfway home, and let's talk about the non-stop sugar rush that is the Kent State Golden Flashes. The Golden Flashes finished 4th in the nation in total offense, averaging close to 500 yards per game. The offense was centered around the lightning-quick running back twosome of Marquez Cooper and Xavier Williams, who combined for over 2,000 yards and 14 touchdowns last year, and they are both back this year. The problem is the team is basically starting over at offensive line. They lost 4 of their starters. I have faith in Sean Lewis's recruiting, though, and this line only needs to hold long enough for the play to develop. You know, all they got to do is hold for like the second and a half it takes to make the handoff to the running back and have the running back either go around the ends or through the tackles. As usual, the offense has to be this way because the Kent State defense was the worst in the MAC. Gave up more first downs than anyone in the country, couldn't generate any kind of pass rush or come up with any kind of third down stops. It may as well not even have been on the field. Their opponents averaged almost 34 minutes a game time of possession. That's basically making your defense play a 13th game on the regular season schedule. Anybody's got to step up in that front 7 and start getting opponents off the field. Overall, the offense should still be dangerous enough and the schedule manageable enough to go on another nice run and have a winning season, but it's not going to be until the end of the year because Kent State gets Long Island at home to open the season. That should be a win. Then they have to play at Washington, at Oklahoma, and at Georgia in September. That's gonna be a 1-3 start for them. Absolutely, no doubt about it. They have to win against Ball State and Eastern Michigan at home, at Toledo, at Miami U, at Buffalo are all 50-50 games. I think, like most of these teams in the MAC, 6-6 or 7-5 is where this team is going to be at the end of the year. However, if it's 7-5 and the majority of those 7 wins come in conference, that should be enough for them to win the East once again. Next up, the Miami U Red Hawks. Another middle-of-the-pack team in this conference where anybody can beat anyone and most teams regress to the middle. There's absolutely nothing flashy about what the Red Hawks do. No one seemed to notice the high-powered passing season, and they haven't come up with the big, splashy non-conference wins like some of the other teams in the conference pull off every year. They were 7-6 last year, but 4 of last year's 6 losses came by a total of 9 points on a way to a bowl win over North Texas, and this year's version of the team has the potential to be even better. Quarterback Brett Gabbert bombed away for 26 touchdowns for a passing game that rolled up over 3,600 yards passing offense and 32 touchdowns with just 8 picks. Matthew Salapak is probably the best returning piece they have on defense, playing a sort of hybrid defensive back and linebacker. This team has some bright spots and some dark spots on their schedule. 2 of their 6 road games are against Akron and Bowling Green. Sure wins there, but the other 4 are against Northern Illinois, Kentucky, Cincinnati, and Northwestern. Just brutal stretch of games there. So there are 4 built-in wins, 4 built-in losses, and 4 more 50-50 games. I know you're getting tired of me hearing me say it, but this team, like most in the MAC, will probably finish somewhere around 500 and be bowl eligible. Northern Illinois, wow, what a turnaround. Winless to conference champions in one season, the embodiment of the MAC, ladies and gentlemen. And not only that, they eked out a win over the Power 5 Georgia Tech while doing it. They wound up losing a thriller of a Cure Bowl to Coastal Carolina. Man, that game was fun. Go back and watch it on YouTube when you get a chance. It's worth it. With 9 starters expected back on offense, 7 likely back on defense, we're going to see another barn burner of a year for the Huskies. It all starts with the absolutely killer rushing attack, classic Thomas Hammock style. But, and it's a big but, as happens to so many MAC schools, the Huskies' best player, Jay Ducker, transferred off to another school. So, next man up. You got Harrison Whaley. He was the second rusher on the team with 574 yards and 4 scores last year. And Antario Brown hammered away for close to 7 yards per carry and 5 scores on his 538 yards. Either one of those guys can step up and be a feature back, but it's more likely that they'll use them in tandem with each other because they are 2 different styles of runners. The receiving core is strong with 3 of the top 4 targets back. Second team All-MAC deep threat Trayvon Rudolph is the biggest playmaker. He averaged 17 yards a catch and notched 7 touchdowns last year. Significant when you consider that, again, this was a run-first team. Like most MAC teams, the Huskies are much weaker on defense, obviously, allowing 33 points a game scoring last year. But it's worth pointing out that virtually all 11 starters were juniors and sophomores last year. They can only get better with experience. Schedule-wise, it's tough. Not going to lie, not going to sugarcoat it. This team's out-of-conference games are going to put them in a hole early. They're at Kentucky, home against Tulsa, home against Vanderbilt. Then they get Ball State, Eastern Michigan, and Western Michigan on the road. This team's going to have to take advantage of every opportunity given to them and just continue playing to their strengths as much as possible if they're going to repeat atop that stacked MAC West. The Ohio Bobcats. If you needed any further proof of Frank Solich's value to that university, look no further than last year. This team that had consistently racked up 8, 9, and 10 win seasons for almost 20 years under his leadership dropped down to a dismal 3-9 record after he retired. And yes, a lot of their conference losses were close, but you know what? 3-9. That's disappointing no matter who you are. This is going to be Tim Albin's second crack at it, and he returns quarterback Curtis Rourke and a lot of the pieces from his offense that managed just 22 points a game last year. If they're going to improve upon that mark, they have to be a ton more efficient with the ball and move the chains. And that all starts with the running back O'Shawn Allison, who's going to have to take a step up and be the feature guy on the offense. Where this team really faltered last year and where they really need improvement is the pass rush, as in it was completely non-existent last year, and you just can't give MAC quarterbacks time to make reads. They're getting some help in that regard from 260-pound defensive end Dante Hunter, who's transferring in from Purdue. Hunter couldn't get on the field with the Boilermakers, but he was a heavily recruited high school star from Westerville, Ohio, so this is a homecoming of sorts for him. Schedule-wise, it kind of works out well for them. They get Buffalo, Bowling Green, and Fordham at home. One of their road games in conference is at Akron. That alone should get them to 4 wins, which would be an improvement over last year. No reason they can't beat Florida Atlantic to open the season, and there are more than enough even money games left with their conference opponents to get them back to 500 and a bowl game. Toledo. They'll go 6-6 and play in the Bahamas Bowl. Next. No, I'm kidding. But they will finish right around 500 and be right in the middle of the standings in the MAC. It's what they do every damn year under Jason Candle, and they should be better. They should be a lot better. But this program just doesn't do the little things, and it shows in how many damn drive-killing penalties they get and game-changing mistakes they always seem to make. It's just not very well coached. Yeah, I said it, and I'll say it again. It's not well coached, and it's not like they don't have talent. DeQuan Finn is a quarterback to build around. The young, efficient playmaker threw 18 touchdown passes with just 2 picks and ran for 505 yards and 9 scores. The defense managed to lead the MAC in scoring defense and was second overall, allowing 350 yards and 22 points per game. They just can't put it all together, and I can't see them making a big step up with all the skill players they're losing on offense. So yeah, they should beat LIU, UMass, Buffalo, Ball State, and Bowling Green. They'll definitely lose to Ohio State, San Diego State, Central Michigan, Northern Illinois, and Kent State. That leaves Eastern Michigan and Western Michigan as toss-up games. They'll probably split them, go 6-6, and play in the Bahamas Bowl. It is law. Last but not least, off to Kalamazoo and the Western Michigan Broncos, a team that shocked with a couple big early wins over Pitt and San Jose State, then fell apart in the middle of the season with 4 conference losses in 6 games to fall out of title contention. Another team that's got tons of talent every year, but it's just poorly coached under Tim Lester. There's a quarterback competition to replace Caleb Ellaby between 2 guys I've honestly never heard of. Fortunately, the running game should take care of the shortcomings there. The rushing combination of Sean Tyler and Ladarius Jefferson is fantastic. Those 2 combined for close to 2,000 yards with 19 touchdowns. With the speed of Tyler and the power of Jefferson working in a really good rotation. The biggest loss, obviously, is star wide receiver Sky Moore, who's now a Kansas City Chief. Moore had more than 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns last year and was just an unstoppable speed demon. The defense was among the best in the nation at generating sacks. It was second in the nation in third down stops, and it finished first in the MAC in total defense, allowing just 330 yards and 28 points per game. But their big piece, Ali Fayyad, graduated. So it's going to fall on Corvin Moment to take over the leadership role. The big 250-pound linebacker, run stopper in the middle of the line, earned third-team All-MAC honors, making 68 tackles with 3 sacks and 14.5 tackles for loss last season. This guy specializes in getting through the line and stopping the run. He made 159 stops with 5.5 sacks and 23.5 tackles for loss with 5 forced fumbles in his 4 seasons. Schedule-wise, they have their rematch with Pitt at home, and Pitt is going to be looking for some serious revenge. Don't count on that being a win this time around, obviously. Similarly, they play at San Jose State, a game that could go either way this time around. At Michigan State to open the season is a sure loss. New Hampshire, Miami U, and Bowling Green are sure wins, and that leaves 6 conference games that unfortunately are toss-ups and impossible to predict. This could be a 5-7 team or an 8-4 team. You just don't know. So there you have it. In the MAC West, I think it's Northern Illinois' division to lose, but Western Michigan might surprise everyone and run the tables on the conference to sneak in with the win. Look for Central Michigan, if everything goes right, their way too, to be right in there in contention. In the East, again, it should be Kent State's division to lose. There just isn't the consistency of talent with any of the other teams there. And I think that the nature of the MAC lends itself to everyone cannibalizing each other and no one really running away with either division. But we know it's going to be fun to watch. We know it'll be exciting. We know it'll be a style of football all its own. And come the latter half of the season, we know it'll get Tuesday and Wednesday nights to itself and provide us with nonstop thrills. Folks, that is it for the MAC college football preview for 2022. I'm Matt from the Live Ones, and I will see you next time.